This is the iconic oven-baked cheesy crick snack you've always loved. And this, it's Cricks too. Can you spot the difference? No? That's because there isn't one. Cricks still has the same irresistible crunchy goodness, wrapped in a stylish new packet. Same delicious flavour, brand new look. So snack lovers, get ready to spot Cricks in the snack aisle. Cricks, same iconic taste, new stylish pack. Now in sharing pack size.
Our Italian journey starts here. It is the Maserati GT Challenge. Welcome to round number 1, where we head to the Autodromo Enzo Edino Ferrari for the first round of this championship. My name is Adam Reed. Alongside me is going to be Joseph Black. Production brought to you by Velocity Esports Racing. Of course, we go into a brand new championship and all the numbers are set to 0, but it's about who can come out on top with a brand new car brought to the Velocity Esports Racing channel. Never seen before. We're used to our GT3 cars. Now we're going over to GT2. First of all, Joseph, I'm really looking forward to this championship. Yes, it's going to be a short but sweet Italian journey, but I think we're going to see a lot of interest in terms of the car that we're using, and of course with equal playing field, how will our drivers fare?
Absolutely, it's looking like it's going to be a quality championship with obviously the lineup that we've got. We've got some incredible drivers, and GT2 cars, a new car to the ACC scene, but also a new car now to the Velocity Esports Racing scene. So we're going to get into it, and I'm sure the drivers are going to get stuck in as soon as they possibly can.
Absolutely, our drivers are really going to be looking forward to it. They've done their practice, now they just got to get prepared here. Autodromo Imola is going to be the first round of this championship, but then we'll head to the well-known, very famous Autodromo Monza, situated in the Parco di Monza, just north of Milan. Then we'll head over to the beaches to round off this championship in Misano, of course very well known for the MotoGP. So going from a Formula 1 situated circuit to a MotoGP situated circuit, 3 of those will play host in our beautiful Italian journey, and I for one am really looking forward to seeing how it all pans out. 3 different circuits with so many different contrasts and of course different personalities. One is very twisty and tight, one has very long straights, and one has a beautiful mixture of both. Italy does really have some of the best circuits around, and here you are seeing our GT2 qualifying drivers heading out there for their session. And we have Dario Martinelli. He's well known in the Assetto Corsa Competizione field at this moment in time, and he is heading around that final corner to get a couple of get a lap started. He's not had the best first lap, but there's still plenty of opportunity to do so.
Yeah, Vela at the moment on top with a 141.047, and there's 4 of them touching the 41s at the moment, with Agius just outside with a 42-0. Manduka going up there. We are on board with him now, the number 93, as he heads through the beautiful, beautiful circuit, looking even better here in ACC. We've got 13 minutes left in qualifying, so there was time for a couple of laps to come in, but obviously we've got a couple who won't be happy with them, and well, with the track evolution that's going to be in store, the times are going to come down relatively quickly.
They are. The track is still really gripping up at this moment in time. Some drivers still trying to get used to the track as well as the car. Of course, they will have probably done some practice pre-race, as they've done already an hour. But of course, there is still it doesn't hit the same when you go into that qualifying session. You've really just got to try and nail everything. Adrian Manduka, really a big challenger. He could be one to challenge the title this time around. He was very, very much going head to head in the GT3s with I believe it was Sheldon Muscat. We see there in 5th place, now 4th place, number 14 Maserati. Denzel Agius, another well-known, he's very much been on the Velocity Esports Racing YouTube channel quite a lot, featuring in GT cars. It seems to be more of his style, does big dens, and he's now really got to try and push it out. Currently sitting in 5th place, 9/10 of a second off Dina Vella at the top of the standings, who's currently sitting in the pit lane. But yeah, he's just heading out now for what seems to be another round of laps, just to burn the fuel, get the tires to the temperature. This is really going to start being getting very interesting at some stage. Samuel Mifsud over the line, and I believe that was a 42.7 this time around, so improves just marginally on his lap.
Yeah, it's all right. I mean, he's just getting used to the cars at this point in time, because obviously, because they've had less practice on them, they're just going to be they're just going to be warming themselves up. They'll take a little bit longer to get into it and to try and challenge Daniel Vella's time at the top. He's 3/10 up at the moment, and he's now out of the pit lane. He's going to try and go even quicker on this next set of runs. They're going to have maybe 3 runs if they need them left before they go into it. But he's certainly got the pace over the rest of everybody in that first section of qualifying.
For sure. Also, Chris Gatt there, the only driver not to go and make a lap, but he is currently still out there circulating the racetrack and in hopes to try and get a lap time. In fact, he's gone over the line. However, it's not the best lap there. Down 4.5 seconds off Dean Vella. Misfit into the final chicane using a beautiful star livery, the Maserati Formula E car from this season, the all-electric series, of course, where Maserati do compete. Not looking too bad with their brand new driver lineup of Stoffel van Dorn and Jake Hughes going into the season. Really looking forward to see how that season progresses, but we're sticking here with the virtual world, and Samuel Mifsud is wanting to improve that trying drastically. Can he get that into within a second of Dean Vella's time as he crosses the timing beam? It doesn't seem to be. There's the line, the 42.4. Does move a little bit closer, but it's not quite within that second. We're really starting to see the skill levels for some of these drivers. You see there the top 5 could potentially be championship challengers, but we'll find them out pretty fast when we go into that first round. And also with only 3 rounds, there's not many time where you can make a mistake that could be very drastic and lead you to dropping championship points.
Yeah, there's not much opportunity to slip with only 3 rounds in this one, and also not much opportunity to have a weak track, so they will have been banging out these laps around Imola, around Monza, and around Misano. They'll be very bored of the Italian trifecta of circuits. But what a trifecta of circuits we have got. It's arguably the most iconic set of circuits in the entire world in terms of, you think of the history that Monza's got. You think of Imola and all the effects that it's had on just racing in general, and all of the races that have been held at Imola in the past, and all of the classics as well. And Italy is just ingrained in motorsports culture, and so it's unsurprising to see that we've got one of the top motorsports brands that happens to be Italian racing around 3 of the top circuits, 2 of which are in Italy, 1 of which is in San Marino, which is close enough. We're going to have Maya Lafella up to the line now. What sort of time is this going to be? It's not going to be an improvement. It's still in 7th place. So Dean Vella still at the top of the standings, and he looks as though this could be a strong challenger at this point in time.
Yeah, Dean Vella was using the Ferrari GT3 car when we were last using Assetto Corsa Competizione for one of our productions. But also you see that down in 5th, Denzel Adjus. He was very much an improving driver during the GT3 campaign using the Ford Mustang, which was still a mystery to this day, kind of what the strengths and weaknesses to this car, sort of the way it's styled. But was going into the GT2 field very much on a playing field, and more of a little bit of a spec series this time around, so it's more very much down to the drivers to try and get the best out of this car. Using a lot there at the top of Piratella is Dean Vella, which is currently watching the fastest driver on track. No sector time we can see at this moment in time. He carries his way up toward the hill through the Acqua Minerale chicane and on towards turn number 14. A little bit of traffic as well right in front of him. One of the cars pulling over. That's going to be the number 2 of Maya Lafella. She heads for the pit lane. The other one is going to be, I believe, the number 7 of George Page. So, yeah, less than 0.3 of a second separating those two. I wonder if George Page may want to use Dean Vella as a little bit of a guide when he goes, once he finishes this. When he finishes his lap time, because of course he may see behind him is that 54 of Dean Vella. It's so important to try and get the right rhythm around here. It can very much be thrown off by some of the curves, but these GT2 cars can definitely take it as you through the first chicane there of Tamburello. Yeah,
I mean, they can wear quite a significant chunk around. Well, I mean, they're taking a lot of curbing at the moment. Just trying to make sure, look at that. That's Denzel Adjus taking a lot of curb. Just as an example of just how much curb they can take. But these cars are very well suited to the Imola circuit. And we could be seeing some of the fastest times in GT2 cars that we can possibly see. I mean, it's just so well designed for this sort of circuit. It's just a balanced and agile car, which for Imola is very much necessary because of the amount of elevation changes. You just want a car that's just so settled on the circuit, and that is exactly what this car, the Maserati MC20, offers.
Absolutely. You talk about times there. The GT2 lap record around here, I believe, was set in 2022. 42.983 by Anders Fjordbach in the European GT2 Championship, which will go to Imola this season. I believe it was round 4 of the championship, so you may want to tune in and see this car in front of your very eyes. If you're very close to Imola, and why not give it a go? Go over to Imola, go and watch this championship, and I'm sure it'll be an absolute blast to watch these cars go around. And I believe Ange is just finishing off his lap there. Still just 7/10 of a second, 7/10 shy. So now Adrian Manduca, who goes to the top here. Manduca really looking for an Assetto Corsa Competizione Championship if he goes ahead here, but Dean Vella takes it back here with a 1:40.9, so already 2 seconds faster than the GT2 lap record that was set in a Brabham BT62 GT2 around here. So these drivers really pushing the pedal to the metal down here. And Sheldon Muscat, who is really winding up the clock. He really likes to leave his laps to the last minute, where we've seen in previous seasons gone by. Really trying to push the top there. Piratella diving down here to Acqua Minerale. 4.5 minutes left on the clock. Could he put in a challenge? Oh, but he's gone too wide there, Acqua Minerale, and he dives off into the pit lane. So Sheldon Muscat is going to need to put in a moment here, try and go through. And George Pard also off the track. Everyone seems to be resetting for this last run here with 4 minutes to go. Out goes Muscat, and here is Adrian Manduca also pulling off to the side. These are crucial runs they have to get into.
Yeah, and you can see the fact that the time is there. You've seen that with Vella and Manduca both diving lower. Vella actually into the 1:40. So you can see that there is a lot of time in these laps, and this is why the drivers are resetting. They're just getting ready because they know that this final run is also crucial, and they do not want to miss the timing marker. That's why they're going straight back into the pits. That's why they're preparing for their final runs as soon as they possibly can. And with just 3:30 left on the clock, the time is now to set a particularly strong time. We've got Darren Martinelli out on circuit at the moment, the #1 car, aiming for #1, but pulling out of this lap. And I think he is going to do the same as the rest. Indeed, he is. Martinelli coming into the pits. He's 2.1 seconds off Vella at the moment, but going straight back out. That was somebody going up into the stronger times. I believe that was Myla Furley. Indeed, it was, getting 2/10 quicker into 8th place. Looking at Gas as well, by the way, he's still 4.6 seconds off that pole time, and he's going to need to find a lot of time in this lap if he's going to challenge for the higher positions.
You're right, he is going to need to try and find something, even if he's not quite connected to the car. Any sort of running will be good for Chris Gatt around here. Myla Furla just travelling up the hill towards Tozer, past Tozer and in towards Piratella. But yeah, these tyres are a bit more like endurance tyres, so a lot of our view may be more towards Formula 1, where of course the friction of the tyres are a little bit softer and they heat up within a lap or so. Around here, it takes about maybe even 2, 3, 4 maybe even 5 laps to get those tires up to an operating temperature and an operating performance to get in your best lap. You've also got fuel to burn as well, so you want to just try and get enough fuel in to the car, be able to do multiple runs. Yeah, it looks like also down, I think with Martinelli we spoke about earlier, he just went a little bit too wide there at the Variante Villeneuve chicane, of course, where of course, named after the famous Canadian Gilles Villeneuve, not able to win a Drivers' World Championship in Formula 1, but was a legend nonetheless. Maya Lefela up to the line. She's just trying to shorten that gap down. Can she put herself maybe up to 7th, up to the line? No, misses out there by another 10th. So she's just going to continue to go around here in towards the left-hander and right-hander of Tamburello. But yeah, still pushing away here with 1:10 to go.
Yeah, and well, I mean, now is the time to push of any because of the fact that, well, now you wouldn't be able to get around and set a lap. So it's only those on the circuit that are able to go for it really now, and I think that is a stationary car. Yeah, indeed, some of them are in the pits, so the likes of Agius won't be setting another lap. I think there's somebody else waiting in the pits as well. Yeah, there's James Smith. He's sitting there. And there was another car as well. But we're looking at Chris Gatt at the moment, taking as much curbing as he's possibly able to do without losing the rears as he comes around now. There is, though, our poleman, Dean Vella. He is looking to improve, looking to stabilise his position at the top, and looking to really set a time that nobody else is able to challenge. He's in sector one at the moment. He's trying to set a quality lap. This is a great onboard of him going a little bit wide, and that could be Dean Vella's lap over. Indeed it is. And so with 10 seconds left on the timer, Dean Vella will not be setting another lap. The 140.9 will be the benchmark for the rest of the field that they're going to have to try and compete with.
Checkered flag out, and we'll now have to wait for those final times. It looks like, I think Adrian Manduka just managed to get to the line in time, and we currently watch his rival from the GT3 Championship, Sheldon Muscat, travel down toward Pitatello and attacking Aqua Minerale, really trying to pull the car all the way to the right hand side, just trying to get it straightened up into the braking zone and then get it even more rotated through Aqua Minerale. Now in towards the Variante outer chicane, up to the over the curbs, left to the right, and he's backed out of that one. Unfortunately, maybe a bit of understeer or something in there, maybe a bit of a lack of something in the car, but he just doesn't seem quite right with it. Looks like Manduka's gone back to the pit lane. George Parge now, one of the only cars out there. I don't know if he's going to be improving his time as he carries that Maserati MC20 all the way down the hill towards Rivazza, turn 17 of this lap. Charging in towards the left-hander. He got it right on the curb. He's currently sitting in 4th place here. He could potentially spoil the party of Dean Vella. 1:40.9 here for Dean Vella. George Parge over the line, 4/10 back. Can he improve on that time? No, he can't. It is going to be Dean Vella to take the first pole position in this Maserati GT2 challenge, and that really stamps his authority on the rest of the field. Adrian Manduka will be in second, but what a grid we have. 10 cars, and well, a lot of action ahead of us for 45 minutes.
Yeah, we will be seeing a lot of action ahead of us for the next 45 minutes. We've got a lot of drivers who are very, very capable of toppling Dean Vella at the moment, but Dean Vella also very capable, but that would be of holding on to that pole position. But Adrian there was the closest challenger, and it did look at one point as though he was able to steal it off him, but not for very long. And he ended up just a 10th behind the top two, having the pace over the rest of the field. Muscat in 3rd, almost 3/10 off of the pole time, and almost 2/10 off of the front row of the grid.
Absolutely, and of course this is all brought to you in collaboration with Gaming Malta, and a big thank you to our sponsors Hyundai, Intercomp, Sunshine Snacks, Level Academy and JACAP. We'll be back after this break, but after that we'll have race time for the first round of the Maserati GT Challenge.
This is the iconic oven-baked cheesy crick snack you've always loved. And this, it's Cricks too. Can you spot the difference? No? That's because there isn't one. Cricks still has the same irresistible crunchy goodness, wrapped in a stylish new packet. Same delicious flavour, brand new look. So snack lovers, get ready to spot Cricks in the snack aisle. Cricks, same iconic taste, new stylish pack. Now in sharing pack size.
And so to 45 minutes of racing action ahead of us here at the Autodromo Enzo e Dino Ferrari. Everyone's getting started with a little bit of a burnout. We're heading onto their formation lap. It'll be Dean Novella in that first pole position here ahead of the pack, with Adrian Manduca in second. Sheldon Muscat may have the opportunity to challenge for this win this time around. Of course, this is where he won his GT Cup Championship in his BMW M4 GT3. But we have some great racing action ahead of us here around it.
We do indeed. It's going to be a very, very good race, regardless of the way you look at it, regardless of the perspective you can look at it, because we've got quicker drivers lower down in the order. And you've got drivers as well down the bottom looking to just fight their way through the field, scythe their way through the field. Gat at the bottom, for example, he wasn't able to set a real competitive lap time, but from last on the grid. We will see what the number 16 Maserati is able to do. Obviously, he's a Maserati. They're all Maseratis, but we will see what he is going to be able to do from the rear of the field. But he's going to have to fight his way through a quality field, the likes of Dean Vella, the likes of Agius, the likes of Muscat as well. They will be giving up a strong defence.
They will be. They'll be actually looking to hopefully try and cast their way through the field. If you're a back runner, or maybe if you're a front runner, I do expect to see a big battle between these front three drivers of Vella, Manduca and Muscat. I wonder if George Page can potentially maybe do something about it, maybe cause a little bit of an upset to this trio of cars that they just rolled their way and they're about to head into formation.
Yes, and then we will get ready for the start of this Maserati GT Challenge, for the start of this 45-minute race here around the Autodromo Enzo e Dino Ferrari. As I mentioned earlier, it is a historic track, and these drivers, they'll be looking forward to this race. They'll be so excited to be racing around Imola here today. And well, as I mentioned before, we're going to have a great race in store. It's not a track that necessarily pertains itself to overtaking, which means that a move is more of a gamble, and so a move will look even better on the camera. We are just waiting now. It's getting much more tense here in Imola, and then lights out is very, very soon.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to roll up to the line. There really are in formation. We have two Intercomp VMD Sim Sport drivers on the first two rows. We've got the Project Aversi there of Denzel Agius as well. The two drivers of Vella and Manduca will roll up to the line. The green flag will be at the ready for our drivers to go racing here. The flag will be in the air and be ready to drop. They roll up to the line. The tenseness heats up and they really start to focus and get their eye down on what they want to do. Down in towards Tamburello, the first edition of the Maserati Challenge is about to get underway, and the green flag has dropped. We go barreling in towards first corner. We go racing here at Imola. Manduka is going to now look around the outside. Who's going to be last later on the brakes here? Manduka tried that outside line, but he's just going to get cut off there. Muscat will look to try and get it something out of this as well and try and make it a Sim Sport 1-2. Muscat looking to the left-hand side there. They check farther away in towards the Villeneuve chicane, and just looking to try and keep line of third. George Page staying in fourth for now, followed by Denzel Anderson. Marlon Lafayette, they head towards Toza.
Yeah, Dean Vella getting very, very aggressive, very, very elbows out, trying to defend that lead into turn number one. And he's just going to try to continue to hold it now. He's got a 5/10 gap over Manduka in second. So he's built up a decent gap right at the start of this one. Muscat closest to anyone else on the circuit. He's right behind Manduka. He's 2/10 behind. And he's pretty much pushing him through now as they head up the hill and as they head to the chicane of Variante Alta for the very first time under green flag conditions. He's just going to sit behind the move. Doesn't need to be made now. They've still got 43 minutes left on the clock. So there's a lot of time. You can set up those moves, but that's someone going very wide. I believe that is Agius going very wide out of the exit of turn number 15. And it's not been a good start for him. You feel as though he's going to come under pressure, but so is... Here is Manduka going under pressure. Big slide on the exit because Muscat went for a send, and Muscat falls down the field. That is somebody off the circuit, and that is somebody through as well. There is moves being made here in this final corner, here in this final sector. There's mistakes being made on this first lap, but Dean Vella, he's not made any, and he holds the lead over the rest of the field.
That was George Page going for a send there on Sheldon Muscat. He thought he saw the gap going into Rivazza, but was just too late on the brakes and unfortunately collided with the number 14. That's allowed Manduka to have a bit of breathing space. He's having a bit of a deja vu moment because he's had this moment before where he was driving his Ferrari, I believe it was, and he had Muscat's BMW right up behind him. This time it's a Maserati, and if Myla Fera has picked her way up through this, she's now up into fourth place with James Smith in the number 13 just in behind, and they'll travel their way up toward Piratelli using all 630 horsepower of the bi-turbo V6 engine, the 6-speed sequential gearbox as well in these, so they'll be paddling through the ship paddles as well, going in towards Acqua Minerale, through in towards second gear and getting all the power down in the rubber on the circuit, as Smith will be looking at a gap here. Will Lafayette decide to go quite defensive here? Here goes Smith up the inside. Is the move going to be there? He decides to back out of it, but he's really sensing Lafayette is under a bit of pressure here, and he's just got to compile that pressure on and get some big points in this race.
Yeah, and it looks as though Variante Alta is going to be where they're going to make their moves, although that could have been Martinelli looking for a move as they headed down the hill afterwards into Ravazza, but Lafayette just holding on 3 seconds behind Muscat, but crucially still ahead of Smith. The slipstream will be available as they head down one of the longest straights on any circuit, and Smith will be closing with that slipstream. Is he going to close enough to make a move into Tamburello? He's going to attempt one down the inside. Lafayette still holding on to the preferred line, and Smith is going to have to yield, but is he? As Lafayette gives him space, and it could possibly be 3 wide. Martinelli could be making a move. He could be making a move down the inside as well, but in the end he makes a move, but there goes Lafayette wide, and Martinelli squeezes her out, and Smith is coming under pressure from Patch. He's through, and that is a complete shift in the order from 4th down to 7th. And Lafayette dropping off.
Oh, that's so unfortunate there for Maya Lafayette. She just unfortunately went a little bit too wide, missed her braking point because there was so much going on in her mirrors. unfortunately looking back there, and she's gone wide, got tapped off there, but it looks like Dado Martinelli has picked through his way beautifully, but he's gone wide here, and George Page is going to be looking at that and smelling the coffee. Is he going to try and go through here in toward Variante Alto? I think it's going to be a bit too much here, a bit too much of an ask for that car, and Barge will back off here. He will try and get a run in toward the downhill section of Rivazza as he carries the speed over the chicane and on towards the left-hander of turn 17. Now just go past the famous house that you see in all the photographs overlooking the Imola circuit. Page will just stick in behind. Meanwhile, at the front of the gap here, at front of the field here, it's going to be Manduka, still in second place here with the fastest lap in the race, separated by a second. Muscat still having to try and find some time at some point. Remember, there is a mandatory stop as well, just to point out, so these drivers will have to go and make a stop here. I think Muscat in his GT3 in the first round at Zolder, he made a mistake by not changing tyre, and he got overtaken by Manduka to have the first win in Zolder. But now going in towards the chicane here of Villeneuve, that's Page on the inside, and Martinelli is not going to be very quick to relinquish that fourth place that quickly. But let's try the outside of Toza, says George Page. He invites a gap there for John Smith, but still line astern.
Yeah, I mean, they're just going to try and stabilise now because there is a lot of time left on the clock. They don't need to be going for moves so aggressive as they were early on. But, you know, it's one of those things. They're just going to now try to settle into the race. But someone tell that to George Page, who's still looking for a move on Martinelli. He wants this P4, and they're now 10 seconds behind the top three, and they'll still be trying to smell a podium. But is that a move being made by Mila Fella? Not quite. Smith offered up the opportunity, and now Martinelli's up an opportunity if Page can take it, but he cannot. And they're still going to go through. He actually is going to, as Martinelli, I believe, yields on the exit of Variante Alta, and up moves Page into P4. Lafela and Smith could be switching in the background as well, but Page up to P5 and now, or up to P4, sorry, and now he's able to make a push forward. Those two cars go side by side just behind him. That is going to be Smith and Lafela, making her way through into P6 as we head onto the next lap, as we head through now to turn number 1. A move won't be made. Smith holds onto it ahead of Lafela, but there could be a move in. That's not quite enough space, and round goes Smith, trying to make a move on Martinelli, but they've both dropped.
This is a replay here, there. I believe James Smith just diving up the inside, saw the move, saw the gap in Tamburello and hit the curb, and goes into the side of, I believe it was Maya Lafela. So I think you're right in that statement, forcing both of them off the second. We continue here with James Smith just sliding off the track once again. So some wild, wacky racing going on here with James Smith. He's been involved in all sorts of chaos. Meanwhile, Lafela, it wasn't Lafela. It might have been Daryl, could it be Martinelli potentially? It must have been, because if we go to the side there, yeah, that was a very plain number plate. So it must have been the number 1 of Daryl Martinelli, unfortunately. So apologies for the confusion there. If one of your favourite drivers you thought got involved in an accident but didn't, we do apologise for that little scare. But Dean Bella taking back that fastest lap over Adrian Manduka. And you see there the Intercomp VMD SimSport driver Avella really keeping it commanding out front here. Manduka will look to try and potentially shut that gap down, or will he have to rely on a pit stop here? Maybe potentially go for an undercut. He'll have to really trust his pace if he wants to go for an overcut. It's all about the feeling underneath the car. Do you still feel the tyres with you to a certain extent when you try and go long? Do you still think the fuel can go? Do you still feel your trust and your pace here? That's all the questions you want to be asking when you do go for a long stop here. There goes Denzel Agius. He's challenging here for 5th place up against Maya Lefela. Maya Lefela's had a very up and down race. She started up in, I believe, 8th place to start this race. And then, of course, getting involved in a couple of skirmishes, making her way up to 5th, holding 4th, I believe, at one stage of this race, and now just has to defend here from Denzel Agius. George Page has escaped 6.5 seconds up the road ahead of this little tussle. He's trying to now shut the gap down to Sheldon Muscat, who's still 3 seconds off that lead battle. So we're still waiting for more sector time. There you go, 13 seconds separating Muscat and Page. We know safety cars, so that will have to be that overtake will have to be done due to a Sheldon Muscat mistake, which never normally happens often, but when it does, it comes at a bit of a shock.
It does indeed. I mean, early on in this one, it's just been elbows out, foot to the floor straight away in the first 10 minutes, and James Smith has fallen because of that. Agius looking to the inside of Lefela. She's going to try and give him a right old squeeze, and as it becomes the outside, Lefela has the preferred line and goes through, but goes deep on the exit, and back through goes Denzel Agius. Lots of mistakes being made here, and well, Lefela seems to be making quite a few of them there as Agius makes his way up to P5.
It seems so easy to do one of those moves where you look down the inside, you think you get the move done, but realise, oh wait, I'm too late on the brakes. You've seen a couple of manoeuvres like that in these GT cars. I think a lot of these drivers really come from single seats. Of course, we know that Adrian Manduka has come from the Formula One series beforehand, and he really learned his grasp in the GT Cup here. We currently look at the Aversio 1 car down in towards Aqua Mediale, the 93 on the side of that car. A really renowned driver and really quick driver, Adrian Manduka. In fact, was a winner in I believe in one of our Formula One championships. As he heads in towards the chicane, he's really close up to the back of Dean Vella, so I wonder how much pace he's now finding behind the wheel, and I wonder if a move for the lead could be on very, very soon. I don't think he'll pick Ravazza this time around, but it has been quite a fun option if you can get your braking right down the hill. You see there the rear end of Dean Vella just looming large on the cameras, and Muscat will be absolutely beaming with his eyes lit up seeing the rear end of that Maserati. And I think a move could be on now here, and he ducks into the slipstream, and he now has to just try and look forward here to the right hand side. He's going to now be forced to that outside line as they head in towards Tamburello corner. Vella just sitting lazy on that middle lane. Oh, they're getting very close to contact, but it looks like Muscat's not this, Manduka, not this time.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, they have to look at the clock. They have to settle down now because Vella and Manduka, they've got a big gap over the field, 3 seconds over Muscat, and, well, over 10 seconds. I think it was about 15 seconds back to Page. So they want to maintain this gap as much as they can. But at the moment, it's not looking like it as, yeah, there we go. It's 14.8 back to Page. So it's just, they need to settle down. And it would actually be 18 between Manduka and Page because of the gap to Muscat being 3.2. So they just really need to settle down at this point, because these two have a great opportunity here to take an easy 1-2. They can do the fighting later on when they've got an even bigger gap over the field. But at the moment, it's just looking as though Manduka wants that race lead. He wants the confirmation to know that he will be in the lead of this one. Either that, or he's trying to force a mistake out of Dean Vella. They're going to go down the straight one more time in 2 corners time, and you'd think that he's going to try to go for another move, as this is the closest battle that we got on track. P7, 8 and 9 are very close together, and we know what James Smith can be like, as he's demonstrated so far in this one. But Vella and Manduka are the two that we are watching at the moment, and this is the one that matters. This is the one for the race lead, and with a quarter of the race gone, Vella still holds the lead at the top. Manduka not close enough to challenge, and he's going to have to wait at least another lap.
He is indeed, and I think he's really looking at that Maserati thinking, Oh, if just get on with it, mate. I think he must feel faster behind the wheel of his white and black top Maserati. He's really trying to push those limits. Almost Dean Vella putting a wheel in the gravel, but he's having a look up the inside of Toza, trying to push his way through. Little kick there of oversteer from Vela, but I think the 54 is just about going to stay in front here. But Vela has now got a realization that Manduka is definitely going to try and go to the distraction route. He's really trying to get Vela to look in the rear view mirror and just trying to get him driving off the road here in towards Aqua Minerale, seeing if he can just off-put that number 54. Meanwhile, looking back here, Samuel Mifsford is challenging Daryl Martinelli for P7. I really like the look of that livery. James Smith dives in towards Toza, and we can see a three-car battle about to be ignited here with Martinelli and Mifsford really going at it. A tenth between the two, but Manduka down in towards Rivazza once again. Could we see a move on the offering?
We could indeed, but it's just whether he feels as though he wants or needs to make it, pulling out momentarily. He's forced a couple of mistakes on Vela on the previous lap, and can he force another one here? He's once again not going to be close enough for an actual move itself, but we've seen that forcing a mistake can get you through. It's worked for a couple of the drivers in the mid-pack, and it could work for Manduka right up the top. He's going to try to keep the pressure on as much as he can on that number 54 Maserati right at the top. But look in the background, you can see Sheldon Muscat. He isn't too far off the top two at the moment, and if a mistake is made, he will come into the 4 and he will come into the fight at the top. But at the moment, the fight at the top is a two-car battle. Vela and Manduka. Muscat still 3.3 seconds off, but if these two hold each other up, then who knows what could happen. We could be seeing Page, who's now 16 seconds off Muscat in third. We could be seeing him come into the battle, but with the pace, the way it is at the moment, Vela, Manduka and Muscat, they've just got the measure over the rest of the field.
They really do. They've really been a cut above the rest here, man. Muscat would love to be involved in this battle, but it would just require his VDM, his Intercomp VDM SimSport teammate and his former GT Cup Championship rival just continue battling it out. I think that will be the way for Muscat to be invited back into the fight, unless he wants to try an undercut here. He's got, of course, 23 seconds remaining of this pit window, less than 30 minutes remaining of this race. Does he potentially go for an undercut here, as Manduka will also be potentially thinking about it as well? At this moment in time, I think he's just solely focused on just trying to see if he can get through on Vela, try and cast the door open. 3/10 slower than his best lap time around. So staying very consistent is our Maltese of Adrian Manduka as he continues on his way. Meanwhile, looking back here, Samuel Mifsford and Dario Marcelli having a big tussle here in towards Rivazza turn 17. Is it going to be a little bit of a switchback off onto the gravel and sweeping through on turn 18? There goes Samuel Mifsford. It's a beautiful move, and now we switch back to this lead battle, but a stunning overtake there from Daniel Martin, from Samuel Mifsford, indeed.
It was, and well, that's the sort of moves that they're attempting, or they were earlier on, but they weren't quite being successful. Well, that was that mid-pack, the likes of Lafurla, Page, Martinelli and Smith, I believe, was the battle earlier that went a little bit wrong, and for Smith, it's gone very wrong. He sits at the back of the field. He's actually just sitting in the pit lane. So, yeah, not his day, and he's going to come back in Monza, trying to go for vengeance, trying to go for the top of the timesheets. They're all going to try and go for the top of the timesheets, but maybe having a setback can just make you a little bit more desperate, as now he is a lap down. And, well, his race, it's not necessarily gone, but with no safety cars, it's very, very unlikely to come back. And now he comes out of the pit lane. He's behind the top 3, I believe, cars. Yeah, he is indeed behind the top 3 cars. The next one would be Page. But look at this battle. Well, no, I'm watching the race replay. That is my bad. But that is Manduka and Vela still going at it, hammer and tongs. Manduka still sitting behind Vela. There will be an opportunity made soon. We have seen a couple of mistakes forced out of Vela, and maybe is he pushing just that slightly too hard to try to hold that lead ahead of Manduka? Something is certainly true, and that is that they are both very fast. They've got 1.1 seconds quicker than Muscat on this last lap, and it's only looking at the moment as though it's going to increase.
It does seem like that way, because they're both pushing each other. Of course, Dean Vela is doing the pushing to just try and get away and bridge a gap here. Manduka is doing the charging to chase here. Muscat doesn't really have a prize in front of him. He's just watching that. He's just watching that gap in front just dissipate. 4.5 seconds of the gap now. You can see that on board with Manduka. In towards chicane he goes. He's just staring down that Maserati. Can he get a brilliant exit here? It looks like a little bit more grunt from Vela on exit as Manduka used a little bit too much curve to try and move down in towards Rivata. There you go, just bumping down on towards the hill here, the retardation, just jostling around there, and as they head in toward that final corner, I wonder if any of them are going to jump into the pits now, and he does. Major Manduka heads into the pits. He's called for an undercut. Crucial moments of this race.
It could be an absolutely vital moment in this race. He has pulled the trigger. He has gone for the undercut, and Vela now could be ruining this mistake. Well, we don't know if it's a mistake yet, but if Manduka pulls it off, it's going to be a very, very strong one. We'll see where he comes out of the pits. We'll also see if anybody else comes into them, as they now, most of them are in the final sector with, I believe that is Gat, not quite up with the rest of the field. He's only just entered sector 3. Just cars going through. Laferla going past the pit lane. Is she going to come in? Not sure, but Manduka is in the pits. He will come out, and he will come out behind the field, possibly even behind Gat. It's going to be close as he comes out now. It's one of the longest pit lanes you can get, coupled with one of the longest straights that you can get, and so he's going to be spending a lot of time in that pit lane. So where you don't really want to be spending all too much time because of how long it is, and that is why you want to try and avoid damage, as that is now Manduka will come out of the pits, and he will come out ahead of Gat. So he's got a lot of clean air ahead of him. He's got no pressure from behind, and he's just able now to pretty much do hot laps until Vela comes in and they reignite their battle.
Absolutely, he's now just got to push on those tires. They will take a while to get up to temperature. That 93 car will be absolutely trying to get any sort of form of temperature, and Dean Vela just does exactly what he needs to do and reacts to that pit opening here. Through goes Muscat. He decides to go long just in case there's a battle between the two cars, and he could potentially sneak out in front, but I doubt that Vela and Manduka will lose 3 seconds if they do get battling here. But the 54 is about to enter his box, stops on his mark, and the car will be lifted up. The change of tires will get going. Unfortunately, we don't have any animations for those on Assetto Corsa Competizione, but there is Sheldon Muscat out in the number 14 Maserati GT2 car, heading up the hill he goes of Toza, trying to plant all the power and use absolutely everything that he can. He's got no idea what Vela will be doing. He's got no idea what Manduka will be doing. I don't think at this point will pretty much just show Page, Vela in the pits, and then now Denzel Andrews. I'm pretty sure Maya Laferla is going to be appearing on his relative very, very soon. Very aggressive in towards Aqua Minerale, but he should now be looking at potentially either going a little bit longer or ducking off into the pit lane.
Yeah, I think the overcut is being attempted by a lot of people, but I think Manduka going for what looks as though it's going to be an aggressive undercut it'll just scare a few of the drivers. Vela was one of those drivers who was scared as well, and we'll see as they both come out of the pit lane. Vela will come out in P7. He's going to come out ahead of Manduka. We'll see how far ahead as they cross the split times. It's 1.7 seconds that he was able to gain in just going for that one lap overcut. And now this is his opportunity to really grasp this race and just to really try to build a gap now. He has got a car right ahead of him. No, he hasn't. I was looking at, I believe, Vela on the perspective of Manduka. Indeed, I was. But he has got the clean air now. Manduka no longer has the clean air. And he's got 19 seconds to the car ahead of him. He's got 19 seconds to Martinelli ahead of him. As Muscat, Page, Agius, all three come into the pits. And I'm sure they're not going to be the only ones.
Yeah, it just seemed like now Vela is trying to get those tyres up to temperature, 1.5 seconds separating those net leaders. But you can see there, Muscat decided to dive off into the pit lane. It looks like Mila Fela will now reinstate, take over the lead of this race here. Now Muscat get out of the pit lane very close to these drivers. Well, he's got an insufferable long road ahead of him, just try and get out of this pit lane, but they cross the timing beam here between our two net leaders. The gap will be 1.5 seconds, so it looks like now they're going to find something, and there is in fact it's going to be Muscat. Muscat out there now, just behind Vela and Manduka. So it looks like that pit stop may have been worth something in the end. He's gone a little bit shorter, so will hopefully be a little bit less on fuel and be a bit lighter toward the end of the race. But he's now going to try and get the tyres up to temperature, which is not the easy thing to do, dipping a tyre into the gravel. But one thing he has done has closed that lead gap down. That was about 4-5 seconds to the back of Manduka. Now finds himself down to 2, and they continue on their way around with 19 minutes still remaining of this race. We still got a few more drivers coming to the pits. We still don't know the official outcome of this race here in Imola.
Not yet, and it'll be very interesting to see as Manduka's gone 3/10 faster now of Dean Vela ever since they exited the pit lane. So he is looking like he's on a charge at the moment. Agius and Page could be having a squabble for what is currently P8, as that is Mifsud into the pits. We will see where he's going to come out, but it is not going to be in that lead battle. Martinelli comes in as well, so Mila Furler going a very long time comparative to the rest of the field. She's 15 laps so far before she's come into the pits. And it's very, very interesting. It'll be very, very interesting to see when she indeed comes in. As now there's only 13 minutes left of the pit window. There's not actually that many laps before she will be forced to pit. As Mifsud, Martinelli both are in the pit lane, and that is Dean Vela. That is the man who could be leading this race, and indeed he is, as he passes Mifsud down the main straight, and Lafurla will be the next one up. So not necessarily holding the race lead at the moment is Dean Vela, but I'm sure he will be holding on to it as they head with Maya Lafurla coming into the pits. Muscat, by the way, 3.1 seconds behind, so not too far off the top two at the moment, although that may have just been because Manduka fell off. So this is a race that's cooking up in its tension as Manduka goes 1/10 faster than Vela, and Muscat actually drops 4/10 in the first sector of this lap. That is, by the way, someone coming out of the pits, and Smith going up into P9. I believe he was lapping somebody. Oh no, he was getting past Martinelli. I'm getting used to the having the timing screens update every single sector. That was Smith past Martinelli for P8, and this is the race leader, Maya Lafurla, going another lap, and now on to 16 on this same set of tyres, on this same fuel load, and now you'd think that she is going to be very rapid with how light that car will be.
Absolutely, she'll just need to do a little bit of refueling and then a quick change of tyres, but yeah, she'll potentially drop all the way. I want to say around about Samuel Mifsud, but if you have a look at the sidebar there, he's got a 30-second stop-go penalty, so I suspect that is going to be for track limits, I want to say, on that case. So when Samuel Misford eventually doesn't serve that, she will be in a world of her own. Unfortunately for her, she'll just try and challenge for a 7th place in the end. They continue their way around. What about Dean Vella? What about Manduka? They're 1 and 2. What about Denzel Agius in the Project Aversio liveried car? He's currently now trying to find a way past George Page, who had a very adventurous first stint to this race. Now finds himself just hanging on to a top 5 position. Denzel Agius will just continue out there, but he's just dipping a wheel into the gravel, but still staying pretty quick. Of course, they're all still trying to get used to this GT2 car, and it does take a while to go from GT3 machining to a less aerodynamic, of course less powerful GT2 car, but they still relatively do the same job, get you around a racetrack. It's just how do you tame the thing is the main question. But Agius is really going to try and see if he can force away past George Page, hopefully not too aggressively in the style that Page did right at the beginning of this race. And Duca still is trying to close in here on Dean Vella. He's now just got to try and maybe do a little bit more saving until that final push. Meanwhile, Muscat is dropping just that little bit off as well. In fact, he's now got the number 16 of Chris Gatt between those two cars. So Muscat is now going to just try and hold on to this net 3rd place and see if he can get a comeback going and a bit of a late championship charge come Monza.
I think, yeah, he's just going to sit there now in P3, well, P4, but P3 once Lafleur finally does come into the pits. She's now done 17 laps. But, yeah, Muscat just dropping off now, Vella and Manduka, and you'd think that stabilising P3 wouldn't be a bad idea, especially with how short this championship is, because Muscat can then go all guns a-blazing in the next race at Monza. But we'll have to wait and see, as we're watching Lafleur. Surely she's going to come into the pits. There's only 2 more corners to go before we will see Dean Vella taking the lead of this one. He's managed to gain a lot of time on Lafleur, considering how long she's been out for. Manduka sitting behind just in that DRS. Another lap for Lafleur in this same stint, and now it heads up to 18. The pit window, it's only open for another 8 minutes 30 seconds, so this is a very, very long stint, all things considered. It's over 3/4 of the race before she comes into the pit. And we saw an overcut work for Dean Vella earlier. Can an extreme overcut work for Lafleur?
Well, I'm not entirely sure if this extreme overcut will take her too far, but yeah, I do expect her to be round about, starting to just be in front of maybe James Smith, so potentially a P6 on the cards here. I think the pit lane is just a little bit too long for her to be within that George Page Denzel Agius battle, but the lightness of that car and her pace, it could be a factor for her to go and be involved in that battle for P5 and P6. So don't count anything too early, but yeah, we now see Vella just trying to bridge that gap to Adrian Manduka. Manduka will be pushing with all that he can in his number 93 Maserati, piling down the hill towards Piratella and on towards Acqua Minerale. Can they do anything about this? Manduka trying to just inch up the back here, but Dean Vella has seriously been a driver in command. He has really been able to tame that Maserati MC20, really take it for a joyride around Imola, and really commanding out in lead. It has been an impressive drive on the number 54.
It has been, just because of the fact that despite the fact he's come under a lot of pressure from Manduka, he just hasn't seemed to fall off in any way, shape or form, and the number 54 still holds this provisional lead with just over 10 minutes on the clock. Agius has been trying to shape up a move on Page for a very long time now, and the number 89 is just sitting behind the other Aversio car, with Manduka right up there in P3. It's going to be a good haul of points for both the Aversio drivers in this one, unless they make any mistakes. But with the way that they've settled into this race, with the way they've all settled into this race after the first 10 minutes, I would ultimately be surprised. But Agius, he can go for a move on Page as they head down the straight. Again, slipstream will be available for Agius. Just Page punching a hole in the air ahead and just allowing Agius to gain time, but not enough to go for a move. Just staying behind is the beautiful blue and white Aversio car, but noticeably closer as they head through the first chicane of Tamburello, and it could be a move that's made on the next lap.
Of course, this race has come to a little bit of a stalemate, as some may say, but there is still some action around the place, of course, still trying to uncover the story of where Maya Lafella will come out. I was going to say, of course, the battle between Dean Veller and Adrian Manduca, but the humping hoofs of Dean Veller, the hooves that have been continuing to go into the lead here. That gap is now up to 1.8 seconds, and they continue to go down towards Aqua Minerale with this little tussle, and that's still not going to be decided until the latter stages of this race, of this 45 minutes around here. But we've got those final 10 minutes remaining here, so you've really got to be starting to make your final pushes. Manduca, I think, maybe doing potentially more saving, but very close to that 2-second gap now. This is a battle that we're really watching for now. It's going to be Denzel Agius against George Page, and Page really stayed firm to this 5th place tussle, but he's really just need to keep in front now. Of course, as you say, Slipstream will be heading towards Denzel in the way of Denzel Agius, but Agius will just be too far to be able to latch onto it and make a move with it to head in towards Tamburello for the 20th time. Through the chicane they go, just trying to find any sort of differing line, or just try and force their opponent into a bit of a mistake, but it doesn't seem like they're going to be doing any of that. Meanwhile, Maya Lafella has stayed out for a very, very long time. She now finds herself still leading this race, 3 minutes and 45 seconds left of that pit window, so she'll have I want to say 2 more rounds. Not entirely sure if she will go with this lap either. I think she's going to try and go with it right to the very end. See if she's got trust in those pace, trust in those tyres, and she'll be able to put on a new set. Hopefully try and see if she can make up anything, but I highly doubt she'll have any opportunities. I think she'll come out in that big blend of no man's land between Agius and James Smith. I believe that gap is about 30 seconds. We currently watch that beautiful number 2 blue and black Maserati heading around this Imola circuit once again onto the 21st lap.
Yeah, and it's been going around for a very, very long time. You just imagine the pace that she's going to have when she comes into the pits finally. Surely on this lap, you would imagine, as there's no guarantee actually that she's going to make it round for another one with the pit window closing. But Dean Veller now also closing in, only 7.3 seconds behind now, but building a gap to Manduca behind. 2 seconds is now the difference between Adrian Manduca in the Aversio 1 and Dean Veller just ahead of him, but a little bit more of a gap in the Muscat behind, 8.3. So an impressive performance from Dean Veller that only looks set to continue having the pace over literally everybody in this entire field, regardless of mistakes that have been made and regardless of tussles that were had early on. He's just fought through it. He didn't really have to fight through anything, but the fact that he's been able to just fight himself, and he's just been able to keep consistent at the top, stave off the pressure from Manduca, and I ultimately would not be surprised if we saw Dean Veller coming out on top. I'd be surprised actually if we didn't see Dean Veller coming out on top. Is Lafella coming into the pits on this lap? I'm not 100% sure. Indeed, finally, after 21 laps, almost 22, in comes Maya Lafella. And we'll see how much time she loses. She's already behind Dean Veller and Adrian Manduca in P3. I imagine she's going to drop right to the back now. Maybe maybe down to P8. I don't think she's going to go any further because Gat and Mifsud just off the field and just not in the train. But P8 looks like it's where she's going to try and stabilise herself. Maybe she was waiting for mistakes from drivers higher up, but that just seems to be what she was consigned to, and that is what she decided to go for. As we switch back up now to the race leader, Dean Vella. Just under 6 minutes left on the clock, and I'd be very surprised if he doesn't go on and win this one at a canter.
Absolutely, Myla Fella staying out for right till the last minute. Of course, you may have seen on the clock there when she entered the pit lane. Pretty sure it was about a minute and 33 seconds left. So she really left that to the final opportunity to see if she could potentially nab any form of position, anything to grab in this race. I think maybe Adrian Manduka has potentially put his tyres too much in the early stages. Thus has now fallen back. That 93 is really starting to suffer, and the gap is really opening out at this rate here. You would love to just try and do whatever he can to close it back up, but I think the tyres are saying, "I can't really do much more." To be honest with you, as they head on towards the 5 minutes remaining, and Duka's got to try something. He would potentially go on to the rear of that number 54, but does he have the time to get onto the back of it and then try and overtake it? He's been using so much of the tyres, been trying to burn through all the fuel and make the car as light as possible for the final lap without running out of it. But he's starting to just about cling on to this second place for now. Vella really about to put the crown on his head for the winner of this race here in Imola, but of course still 2 rounds left, and 30 points, technically 90 points will be up for grabs this entire championship. That is the amount you get for 3 wins, so we'll see some really big opportunities for big points in these races here. We head our way through the chicane with James Smith and Maya Lafella, in fact, just getting out into 6th place, but of course we know how quick that car will be. Will she be able to handle it to the very end?
I'm not 100% sure. We will see, but with 4 minutes left on the clock, there's not much time for mistakes to be made now for anybody in this field, although knowing how quickly a mistake can be made in racing and how quickly your race can just explode, then just a couple of seconds could be the difference. But at the moment, Manduka closing into Vella, just over a second behind, and had the pace on that last lap. He's going to be hoping that he has the pace on this lap as well, just to close that gap, keep the pressure on as much as he can. How close are they as they head up to the split time for the end of the lap? Manduka is now under a second. He's getting 2/10 in that last sector, and so something tells me this race isn't one and done. And as I said, Dean Vella was going to win by a canter. I think it's actually less likely than that, with Manduka's pace over the last lap just trumping Vella by quite a margin, and well, with just the time for another couple of laps on the clock, it is now or never for Manduka, just to close that gap, just to put that pressure on Vella, and just to potentially take this race victory.
Yeah, he has lost a 10th though in that first sector, so potentially too much curb at one stage and get a little too overexcited, potentially for Manduka. But sometimes in these championships, yes, it may be short and sweet, but it could be consistency that may be the way to go forward here. Vella will just try and etch his way through the corners and up the hill towards a variante out of the 1450 chicane, and you just see that white car, white Aversio looming ever larger in these last stages of this race. And I do wonder if he's going to try and potentially make a move on that last lap. It's going to be very touch and go for the number 93.
It will indeed, and it's going to be now or never for Manduka, as I mentioned, as we've only got time for one more lap here in Imola, and Dean Vella will take us onto it with Manduka sitting just over a second behind. He's not made the inroads that he would have wanted to over the last lap. And yeah, I mean, now it could be that this race is over. Manduka's going to push everything he has on this last lap to get within a second and to get within just a couple of car lengths. And Vela is going to do everything he can to stop that with just a couple of sectors to go. He's barely made any mistakes all weekend long, and now is crunch time for Dean Vela.
He's really just commanding it out in front, and the number 54 has just been another, he's really been another class of the field. But you can say Manduka has been part of that club, but Vela has really been putting on the performance that he needs to. And this is going to be potentially the start of a championship charge for Dean Vela. It didn't quite go his way in the GT Cup a couple of months ago. That took a learning curve. That is where Vela learned his craft in the Assetto Corsa Competizione field. And of course, he's now in that Maserati GT2, comfortable as a pig in blanket. It seems like he heads his way down into towards Rabazza. He is held off the challenge of Adrian Manduka, a monster, a juggernaut of sim racing. But Dean Vela will strike first blood here in Imola, in the number 54, will come across the line and will take victory here at the Enzo Edino Ferrari. Our Italian journey starts with an absolute banger, and Vela, well, he's going to be commanding the championship lead, but will he hold it out there at the end of round 3? The two championship title contenders here, Vela and Manduka, will go side by side. But what a brilliant race to kickstart our GT2 Maserati challenge.
And Manduka will surely be hoping that they were able to go side by side one lap earlier, as this would have been an ideal scenario for him after all that racing. He was just waiting for a mistake to happen, and a couple of them did come early on, but nowhere near enough of a mistake for Manduka to slip through. And well, now we have the checkered flag waving for the drivers. We can confirm the final grid order, and the podium is Dean Vela, Adrian Manduka, and Sheldon Muscat taking that P3. He looked like he was going to pressure the top two for so long, but after that first stint, he was just nowhere, and he just dropped off the rest, or dropped off the top two, with Vela and Manduka upping their pace. And that is what is going to win you a title in an event like this. It is just having the ability to be maybe 7 out of 10 in the first stint. This is Vela and Manduka I'm talking about. 7 out of 10 in the first stint, and then just exploding, becoming an 8 or 9 out of 10 for the remainder of the race, for the second stint. And well, it's just what took them over the line today, and it's just what took them to the top 2 positions.
It's really been a brilliant race there. Of course, Milo Fella did hang on to 6th place in the end. Sheldon Muscat finishing home in 3rd. It's that type of consistency that he will need throughout these next 2 races. But of course, he'll need to take a win. I think if you can get a win in this championship, it would be absolutely mighty and could really kickstart something. And of course, Vela's taking first blood, he is really going to be in charge, and he's really going to be looking at that championship thinking, there's only 3 rounds of this, there's only 2 more to go. There's a definite win on the card, and I think that Manduka will be saying the same. I think Muscat may be able to say the same, but it'll be down to that second round at Monza, which kind of shapes the confidence of these drivers, and then that would be their kind of set onto that last round of Misano. So I really think how will the mentality change throughout these next 2 races.
I think it's just going to be Monza is going to be the crucial one for the drivers. I think it's going to be the one where some drivers decide that it's their opportunity to charge for the championship, whether it's Vela, whether it's Muscat, whether it's just any of the drivers in this field. It will be the make or break race where those at the top will go, absolutely, this is our chance, and those at the bottom will go, well, we're just racing for pride, and we're just racing at this point for the sake of racing. And I mean, absolutely, why wouldn't you? Because it's just such a good event, and there's such good tracks, and there's such fun tracks to drive. Misano especially it's something that just offers something so different. And Monza's such a historic track, and it could be the one where someone along the likes of maybe Dean Vella can make history and can just extend their challenge and extend their monopoly at the top. And at the moment, he's just looking comfy.
Absolutely, he will be feeling that some sort of cushion, but of course, when they do get to Monza, that could be very much a different story. This production was brought to you by Velocity Esports Racing in collaboration with Gaming Malta, and thank you so much to our sponsors, Motors Incorporated, Intercomp, Sunshine Snacks, Level Academy, and JACAP. Of course, it will head over to North Milan for the second round of the championship, where we head to that very famous Monza circuit, one of the oldest circuits in world motorsports. In 7 days' time, there'll be a huge swing in the championship, and that standing you'll see in front of you will change for the good or the bad for some drivers. We'll see you in 7 days' time. We head to Monza for the Maserati Challenge.
Building a fight, this be hit,